And welcome, sports fans, to today's roundtable. And what a weekend we've had in high school athletics. Not only high school football, but even softball. Finishing up their season for high school softball here over the weekend. We even had a team make it to the state Final Four this year, which we'll touch on here in just a moment. And it's coming down to the end of the fall season. The weather's turned, and it's just about end of the fall season. We'll be getting to the winter season coming up in just over a month, so it's all coming to an end here in the next few weeks in high school fall athletics. And we're going to touch on some scores here momentarily, also some district football standings we'll get to in just a moment. And we're going to have Tommy Jacques along with us, SEMO Sports contributor for us here at YHC and SEMOSportZone.com. Does football on the radio for the Malden Green Wave. Been around and saw quite a bit of football this year. We're going to talk about the game last night we had here on YHC, Dexter and Malden, and show you some highlights of those and talk about some high school football in the area. So stick around for that here in just a moment. And also we'll have updated local and state rankings for high school volleyball and football. So stick around for that. We got a lot to get to for today's show. And we'll go ahead and take a look at some results from last night in high school football. And taking a look at the game we had last night, it was Dexter and Malden come out with that victory, 30-27. Impressive victory for the Malden Green Wave, coming back from behind. Had I think it was a 27-8 deficit at halftime. Impressive showing there in the second half by the Malden Green Wave, coming up with a big second half. And now to the highlights here early on in the first half. We see here a nice game by the Bearcats and a nice tackle in the backfield by the Green Wave, and a nice run here by Robinson by the Green Wave. He had a big night for the Green Wave. And we're seeing here the first score for the Green Wave as they get into the end zone after being down 13-0 early on. And the Bearcats coming back with a big gain, a pass. I think that's DJ Dowdy there, and he's going to take it in for the score. And that was right. They got two scores here late in the half. That put them up 20-8. And now Malden looking to drive of their own, and a pick there in the secondary of the Bearcats. And now Dexter on the run once again here at the end of the first half, already up 20-8. And they turn it over. Malden gets it back, looking to make a drive of their own. A great pass down the field by Chapin Riley. And the Bearcats here get their score right before the end of the half. A nice pass to Ethan Stevens takes it in for the score, making it 27-8. And now into the third quarter, the Bearcats looking to stay aggressive, put this game away in the second half. And Malden starting to make their run. A deep pass by Chapin Riley. And the Green Wave go in for the score. This is their first score of the second half. And a deep play there by the Green Wave. And makes it 27-16. And Dexter staying aggressive, trying to work the ball down the field. Get the Malden Green Wave back on their toes. And here in the third quarter, moving the ball for a nice first down on a fourth down play there to keep the drive alive. And a deep pass down to Austin Aldridge. Come down ugly there, but he was just fine. Good thing he come away with that non-injured. But Dexter trying to make a score here and put this bigger cushion on this lead, but an interception in the end zone. Malden picks it off, and now into the fourth quarter, the beginning of the fourth quarter, a nice run here. Dexter just unable to make a stop on this 4th and 12 play, and Malden converts. Big game in that, or a big play in that game last night, converting that long fourth down, and this is their another score for the Green Wave, and they get right in for the end zone and makes it 27-22. And there's an interception in their own territory. Dexter turning the ball over, and Malden punches it in off of that turnover. So a big cluster of plays there midway through the fourth, and now Dexter trying to work their way back down 30-27 as we see a completion, but then a fumble late in the fourth quarter with 3 minutes to go. Turns it over to the Green Wave. And this wouldn't be the end of the game. We see here Malden the ball back with under 3 minutes to go, And Dexter coming up with a big stop there, but this is probably the play of the game. A 3rd and 18. Chapin Riley rolls out right, goes down the sideline, and a pass interference called down the sideline. Gives them right at the first down, but they didn't pick up the first down. A little odd play we'll talk about in a moment there, how all that played out. But an incompletion, long incompletion, with just under 2 minutes, and an out-and-up route that was telegraphed there, picked off by the Malden Green Wave, and that did it for that game last night. Impressive showing by the Malden Green Wave, coming back from a 27-8 deficit at halftime and shut out the Dexter Bearcats in the second half, and rallied for an impressive victory for the Malden Green Wave last night. So we'll talk a little bit more about that game with Tommy Jacques in our next segment, and we'll talk more about that. But a great game that we shown here live last night here on YHC and SEMOSportZone.com. And taking a look at some other games, Kennett over East Prairie, 58-8. No problem for the Kennett Indians. We were down for that game as well. We're going to replay that one Sunday at 7 o'clock and Tuesday at 6:30. Excuse me, it's Sunday at actually 6:30. Sunday at 6:30 and Tuesday night at 6 o'clock. We'll be replaying that, and it'll be available on SEMOSportZone.com this weekend as well. And other games, Charleston over Chaffee, 43-28. And Charleston gives Chaffee their first loss of the season. And the Chaffee Red Devils go to, I believe it's 8-1 now in the season. And Chaffee, no problem there. Class 1 school losing to a Class 2 school, so it certainly doesn't hurt them that bad in the district standings. But they're currently in a good spot in that Class 1 district right now. And also we have Crothersville over St. Genevieve, 49-42. Big win for the Crothersville Tigers. Tough opponent in those St. Genevieve Dragons. And Darrell Monroe had another big game. Had over, I think it was around 240 some odd yards rushing. I think actually it might have been 260 some odd yards. And I think he had over 300 yards total when it comes to special teams, returning, and just a dominant player Darrell Monroe has been over the past pretty much 3 years. But certainly this year he's taking it to another level and secure a big win over the St. Genevieve Dragons last night. And also we have Cape Central over Festus, 62-56. And what a shootout there between those two. Cape Central picking up that win, looking pretty good in that Class 4 district this year. They put up 60 last night on Festus. And Francis Howell Central over Jackson, 38-34. And Jackson suffering a few losses. I had one last week with Hickman. Suffered that in overtime and a close loss there with Francis Howell Central, 38-34. And also we have Portageville over Nemadra County Central, 34-18. Big win for those Portageville Bulldogs. They suffered a 40-0 loss to them last year. Which many would expect Porterville to put up a better fight last year, certainly with the talent that they lost from last year, put up a better fight, but they answered quite well on Nemadra County Central's home field with a victory last night, 34-18. And also Cardinal Ritter defeated Sykeston in a shutout, 20-0. Chaminade over Poplar Bluff, 35-28. Jefferson over St. Vincent, 58-32. And down in Arkansas, Harrisburg over Piggott, 21-14. They're in the 3A3 conference there in Northeast Arkansas. And taking a look at some softball games from the past few days, actually yesterday, and the Class 2 softball semifinals for the state of Missouri. It was South Callaway defeating Kelly 2-0. So Kelly lost the semifinal, went to the third place game. And moving on to this third place game, it was Marionville defeating Kelly 4-3. So Kelly comes away with fourth place in the Class 2 state tournament in high school softball. Very impressive season for those Kelly softball players, come away with fourth place. So not a bad season for Kelly this year. And Oran just missed the Final Four for Class 1, so those are pretty much the top two teams in the area in high school softball this year. Oran in Class 1 and Kelly in Class 2. And before we move on to our next segment, we want to give you the district football standings as they currently stand. These are unofficial. Basically, we've compiled these up here at our station based on the formulas, and going with Class 1, District 1. And again, these are 18 districts with the exception of Class 5. And currently in Class 1, District 1, final standings unofficial. Valley Catholic and undefeated 9-0. They're at number 1, 2 Chaffee, 3 Thayer, 4 Portageville, 5 St. Vincent, 6 Hayti, 7 Crystal City, and 8 Kabul. And these are 18 tournaments. Next week is Week 10 in high school football, and Week 10 is the first round of the district tournaments. So it's an 18 format. So as you see there, Valley Catholic will take on the 8th ranked Kabul, Chaffee versus Crystal City, Thayer versus Hayti, and Portageville versus St. Vincent. And those are the unofficial rankings for Class 1, District 1 so far. And in Class 2, Crothersville at number 1, 2 Malden, 3 Charleston, 4 Jefferson, 5 St. Pius, 6 East Prairie, 7 Scott City, and 8 Grandview. And as we see there, Crothersville will take on Grandview, Malden versus Scott City, Charleston versus East Prairie, Jefferson versus St. Pius. And in Class 3, District 1, Park Hill Central at number 1, 2 St. Genevieve, 3 Potosi, 4 Fredericktown, 5 Dexter, 6 New Matter County Central, 7 Kennett, and 8 Lift for Life Academy. As you see the matchups, Park Hills versus Lift for Life, St. Genevieve versus Kennett, Potosi versus New Matter County Central, Fredericktown versus Dexter. And in Class 4, District 1, Hillsborough at number 1, 2 Festus, 3 Cape Central, 4 Sykeston, 5 North County, 6 Perryville, 7 Farmington, 8 DeSoto. And the matchups there, Hillsborough versus DeSoto, Festus and Farmington, Cape Central, Perryville, and Sykeston, North County. And in Class 5, District 1, they've only got 6 teams, which the first 2 teams will get first round byes. That's Jackson and Vianney. And third, Poplar Bluff, 4 Fox, 5 Rockwood Summit, 6 Seckman. And if I understand correctly, 3 will play 6. That's Poplar Bluff versus Seckman. The winner would, I would assume, take on, well, I'm not exactly sure how that format goes, but 3 will likely play 6, Poplar Bluff and Seckman. And 4, Fox will take on 5 Rockwood Summit. And I would assume the winner of those first 2 games, the 3-6 game and the 4-5 game, I would assume that the higher seed will take on the 2 seed. Say if Poplar Bluff wins as a 3 seed, they'll take on number 2 seed Vianney. And if Fox were to win, Fox or Rockwood Summit, a 4 or 5 seed, the lower seed would take on the top seed Jackson, much like the NFL playoffs, I would assume, but not exactly sure. But there is a process. These are just points based on who you play, the classification of those teams, and who you beat, who you lost to. It's a point system, so these weren't actually voted on by coaches or anything like they do in basketball. So it's just strictly a point system. But I understand, if I'm correct, that there is an appeal process. So if the points don't necessarily kind of work out the way they probably should, say if you've got some teams that have got maybe the same record, and one team beat the other in head-to-head, you can appeal it, and I think the coaches will actually vote on whether moving these seeds around. There is an appeal process, so we'll see if that has any bearing on how those standings end up. And those are unofficial; they're not sanctioned or not been published by the Missouri State High School Activities Association. It's just an estimate of the points that have went through from last night. So we'll see if that stands to those standings, and we'll see if there's any appeals that move those rankings around any for next week. And again, it's an 18 playoff format, 8 teams for the exception of Class 5. You go in the first round, then you advance to the semifinals in the second round, and then from there the championship round, and then from the championship advance all the way into the quarterfinals, the final 8 teams of each classification in state tournament play. So we'll be getting into those 8-team tournaments next week, and for many teams it'll be the last game of the season. Typically we had a 10-game regular season, then into state tournament play with the sectionals, then quarterfinals and on, but now it's the 10th game is the first round of the 8-team district tournaments. And the top 4 seeds will have home field advantage. So there's 8 teams, so the top 4 seeds, 1 through 4, those rankings will have the home field in those games. So I'll be looking forward to how it all gets started next week. Next Thursday, actually. They'll get underway with Thursday games next week. So we'll be looking forward to those. And we're going to take a quick break and be back with Tommy Jacques. He's going to be along with us, talk about that Malden and Dexter game last night, and also some other football in the area. So don't go away.
Welcome to NFL Total Access,
the show that takes you inside the locker room and down on the field. With inside access to all 32 teams all year long. NFL Total Access, Monday through Saturday, only on NFL Network.
NFL Network, where football season never ends.
I'm married, I have a child, and my someday was when my job got shipped to Mexico. So I took charge and went to Three Rivers College. It opened doors I couldn't imagine. Better job, better pay. My certification in green diesel technology at Three Rivers took less than 2 years. Didn't cost a lot either. My future's never looked greener. Three Rivers College. Turn your someday into graduation day.
Take your first step toward a stronger, more fulfilling career. Make your someday today. Enroll now at Three Rivers College.
First Midwest Bank Gold Club offers special privileges for our friends who are age 50 or better and have combined deposits of $5,000. Members enjoy trips, cruises, seminars, and picnics along with free personalized bank services. Upcoming trips include Journey Through the Holy Land, Yellowstone in winter, Classic Ireland, and Hawaiian Paradise Cruise. Stop by any First Midwest Bank location to sign up for the Gold Club. It's absolutely free. First Midwest Bank, providing common sense financial solutions every day.
And we're back along with our good friend Tommy Jacques, our SEMO Sports contributor and Malden radio guy for high school athletics. And Tommy, we had a shootout last night, and it come down to the end between Malden and Dexter. It was a good one.
It was a very good football game. You wouldn't see any game much better than that if you wanted to see some good high school football. Each team had a chance to win that ball game, and Malden was fortunate enough to pull it out at the end. But as I heard a coach say one time, if you're behind, you need to put yourself in a position to win with the ball, and Dexter did that.
Yeah, they certainly did. Got out to a great start. Dexter's been playing some impressive ball lately. If you can remember a few weeks ago, they come back on Charleston in the second half. Had 3 scores in that second half of that game to come back on Charleston, and ran into a very good Park Hill Central team last week. But they've been playing some of their better ball this year and getting some players back. And they got off to a good start. Had a 27-8 lead, and you thought going into that second half that Dexter was just going to pull it out the way they were executing on offense, especially.
That's true. I was very impressed with Dexter last night. That Pollock, that quarterback, did a nice job, and those receivers, I think her name is Dowdy and Stevens and Aldridge. What a cast of receivers! They really, really impressed me.
Yeah, they made some plays, but the second half pretty much flipped the script. Malden's defense showed up and defended well in the second half, didn't give up any points in the second half, and their offense got going, and that's what surprised me in the first half. We've seen Malden put up some big points this year, and it just wasn't the case in the first half. They couldn't get the ball moving and couldn't get into some good plays to score, but in the second half, that was the opposite. They really turned it up, got some big plays in the passing game, and got some long runs, and it was just a tale of two halves, really.
That's right. In that third quarter, when Malden's quarterback Riley hit Hale for that TD, about a 70-yarder, he made it turn it into a 70-yard. I think that put a little spark into Malden. But as you said, the first half, and really we were wondering what was the matter with Malden, but Dexter had a lot to do with that first half of shutting Malden down, and they did an excellent job. And little Perkins came in there and had a couple interceptions last night and had a TD catch, and he really played a nice game, and we were really proud of him. And Dexter done their homework. Hats off to their coaching staff. They knew that Draymond Robinson was going to run that ball, and they were trying to contain him. And they did, for the most part, did a good job. He didn't break one for a long run. I think he finished with like 134 yards. But Dexter did a good job.
Yeah, the first half, Malden tried to go with the run, and they've been running the ball very well this year. Thought they were going to pick up quite a few yards in the first half, but Dexter really closed down those running lanes, didn't allow Malden to get out in the open field running the ball. But I think the second half, Malden looked to the pass, tried to get some screen passes. They did well with some screen passes to get out in the open field that way, and I think that's what really opened it up for Malden, going with the pass. And Dexter didn't adjust well defending the pass. They missed some tackles, didn't make some tackles in the open field, and that's what basically was the difference in the game for the Green Wave.
That's exactly right. Chapin got in there, and I think he ended up 16 for 22 and had one interception for 216 yards. For a sophomore, he went in there pretty level-headed and didn't get shook and led that Green Wave down with that passing game, kind of loosened some other things up. But, yeah, they did. I think Perkins ended up 7 catches for 62 yards, and Hale 4 for 104. I'm sorry. And Jeremy Jones 3 for 45. So they was kind of mixing it around in there. So they finally came back and really did a good job.
Yeah, they sure did. And Tommy, it was really getting weird there at the end of the game. We saw a few calls that were just kind of head scratchers, and for both sides, really, it was just it was just up in the air how this game was going to finish. Dexter was applying a lot of pressure to Malden, and Malden was just trying to get the ball down the field to run out the clock. But Dexter had a few opportunities late. They were driving late against the Green Wave there. Got it, I think, in the red zone, and mishandled a handoff and fumbled it over to Malden, and then a late interception. Dexter tried to do an out and up route, and it was a little underthrown, and Malden saw it coming the whole way and picked it off. And Dexter, if they handled the ball a little better in the second half, they could have probably run out some clock there in the end. But it was Malden forcing the turnovers. They got 2 late interceptions and that late fumble there, so 3 second half turnovers by Dexter, taken away by the Green Wave. They really turned up the awareness on defense to take advantage of those opportunities, turning the ball over of Dexter.
They sure did. There in the fourth quarter when Robinson intercepted that thing, and he first of all, earlier, he was running, I think, on the last series of downs, and they had him back there. He just didn't want to give up. He kept playing until he got that first down. And then late in the game when he intercepted that pass and eventually turned it into the go-ahead score. And the big interception when Brandon Stanley stepped in front of that pass and intercepted it late, and Malden was able to run the clock out. So several kids contributed, and both teams very well coached. Coach White, Collier, and Vent from Malden. And Dexter's coming around. That's not, you go and look at the team and say they're 2-6. If I didn't know, I would have wondered. I can't believe this, because they sure didn't look like a 2-6 team last night.
Yeah, they have some young players that'll be certainly coming back next year. Pretty much all of their skill positions, with the exception of DJ Dowdy, gets pretty much young players across the board. Mostly, sophomores, juniors, and even some freshmen in there working in. So, there's some things to look forward to for the Bearcats next year. But they've certainly improved for this year, and they had a chance to come out with that one last night. But it was the Malden Green Wave coming up with an impressive second half there in that effort last night. And Tommy, we haven't talked to you any of this football season here on the roundtable, and Malden's had a pretty good season. They're right there in the second spot in the district. No surprise behind Crothersville, but they've played some pretty good ball this year and up to a pretty good record so far.
Yes, they have. And, after last year, when you lose a Romello McCoy, it makes you wonder. We're going to be coming in with a sophomore quarterback. We've lost the Carr Trophy winner. I just hats off to this hard work these kids have put in and this coaching staff to get them ready and prepared. And to be honest, yes, it really surprised me how they've done, but they have reacted, and these kids have bought into Coach White's system, and they're hard-working kids, and very proud of them. And very, very proud, and this community is proud of the way that these kids have just worked hard, because they knew that everybody didn't have much expectation of them this year, but they proved a lot of people wrong.
Yeah, they've done quite well, and they had a showing last night that come up to Dexter, and it was a very cool night. It was right around 40 degrees, and they had a nice showing. Student body came out, the fans showed up for the Green Wave and supported them last night. You could hear them all the way up from where we were all across the field.
That's what we were talking about earlier. Listen, you hear the Green Wave, you know we can hear those kids can hear them out there. And I tell you something that I think fired the Green Wave up a little bit in that second half is Gunnar Jones. You know, Gunnar went down all 3 weeks or so over at East Prairie, and he had to have his ACL operated on yesterday, but they came from St. Louis, and they kept texting, telling them they're getting close. They could hear it on the radio, and Gunnar showed up, and I think that put a little spark in the Green Wave. Yeah,
and speaking of Gunnar Jones, he was, one of their best athletes on the team, and I knew he went down, but I didn't know which game, and I knew he didn't play last night. So did he have a torn ACL?
Yes.
Did he really? Man, that's tough. And was he playing in the backfield for the Green Wave this year?
Well, he played some, and he played receiver and defensive back, and you know Gunner's one of the fastest kids there are around. You can't catch him from the back. Very few can run him down. You better have an angle on him, and he's just a good athlete, good team member, and we want to wish him well, and I know YHC the same way. And Gunner, the way he said, I got to get this ready now for track, and with his character and his work ethic, he'll do it.
Yeah, it's good that he's got a season in between there. Between fall and spring, so we wish him the best coming back from that injury. That's a tough break. Tommy, we were talking about some other teams. Crothersville's right ahead of Malden in that Class 2 District 1, and they're a tough team, which you all have already played them. Malden's already played them, and they're just they're just a steamroll. If Monroe wasn't on that team, it'd be a lot different story. But the fact is, he's on there and he's not going anywhere. So. He's just a man amongst boys out there, really.
I tell you what, St. Genevieve got a little dose of him last night for about 274 yards and 63 yards receiving. So, I think they know Daryl Monroe pretty well now, and he's just an athlete. We said when this kid was a freshman, the only thing that would be better for Daryl Monroe if he was in a green and white uniform.
Yeah,
athlete.
He certainly is. We've seen him for 3 or 4 years, and it hasn't changed much. He's been basically the same player. And I had an interesting observation. You'll like this, Tommy. It was probably midway through the season, 4 or 5 weeks ago. Someone was telling me that, he hasn't gotten that much better, since 2 or 3 years ago. And I said, what, that probably. You could probably say that because I don't think it's harder to make, gaining 300 or 400 yards a game look that much like he's that much better. It's hard to do that much more. So if you don't do more, of course, you're not any better. So I guess there is some validity to that. So.
I heard someone say one time about Daryl, and I won't call any names, but it was a team around here, and they said, that. And he wasn't a coach, he was just a real big fan, that he had talked to their defense and told them how they need to do to bring him down, and he thought they were fired up. They were ready, they were going to stop him. But, I'm glad he talked with him, because I think Daryl only had 5 touchdowns in the first half, and 270 yards. If he hadn't talked to him, he might have had 10 touchdowns. I don't know.
Yeah.
But stopping him, if they could do that, that's like Coach Jeff Bullock over at Portageville. I was talking to him one day at Malden, Hot Chili Cool Cards. We were interviewing him, and the first thing he said, did I just see Romello McCoy sitting here interviewing? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, you done something that all us coaches in Southeast Missouri have been trying to do. Had him steal for at least 2 or 3 minutes, and normally we're chasing him all over the field. That's the way Monroe is too.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, 2 totally different kind of backs there. Romello McCoy's he's a speedster, which he can, he's side to side lateral and just breaks it open. But Monroe will just, he'll just truck you over. So 2 great backs to watch over the past few years. Romello McCoy and Daryl Monroe. But Daryl Monroe's in his senior year, and he hasn't played too many fourth quarters, Tommy. He gets his work done, and he takes his break there in the second half when they're up, to a big lead. So he hasn't put in a whole lot of work this year, but boy, it sure looks like it when you look in the box score.
Sure. They said that last night he didn't play much of the fourth quarter up there, that he had a little bit of ding on his ankle, but they said, he's going to be all right, so they didn't want a chance at this playoffs coming up. And but, like you say, he don't play much the whole game. He's usually it's well in hand, and he's sitting over there resting and waiting for the next game.
Yeah, that's the way it's been for Crothersville this year. They've had a few games. Mountain View Liberty put a number on them there in week one. That's kind of surprising. You look at Crothersville and what they've got, but impressive victory with St. Genevieve. They got a pretty good team this year and a Class 3 school as well. So impressive victory there for the Tigers.
Tommy, that's exactly right. Yeah. And I want to say this before we get off here. It's always a pleasure to come to Dexter. We always see some of our old friends. Got to visit a little bit with Coach Jim Hall last night before the game started. It's always like to talk to Jim and some of the guys up there. And we want to thank the Dexter School for their hospitality last night, getting us set up, showing us where to go. And we really appreciate that very much. Yeah,
always good press box they've got here at Dexter.
It really is. Things have really turned around since the first game of the season when Donnie and I were over at New Madrid, and I had a meltdown. It was so hot, but last night, I could have stood a little bit of a meltdown. It was a little bit cool.
Oh man, it was pretty rough. It's unreal. I was talking to some guys last night. It just felt like a few weeks ago we were burning up trying to jump out of there.
That's exactly right.
It's a tale of two seasons when it comes to football. I tell you, you're burning up the first week, and by the 9th or 10th week, you're bundled up and just ready to go home.
I was sure ready last night. I was sure really ready when the Greenway took that lead. I thought, man, come on, the clock, because it's amazing how when you want the clock to run out, how slow it is.
Yeah, it certainly is. And there at the end of the game, the clock was stopping constantly there in that fourth quarter. So you certainly want to get things wrapped up and take it to the house. So it was good fun. Caleb, if we can bring up that Class 2 District 1 standing, if you can, before we get off here. And Tommy, we went over the district standings as they stand that we calculated so far. Malden there at 7-2 on the year. At number 2, looks like if we've got it correct, that they'll take on Scott City next week, next Thursday in the first round there. With Scott City, it currently stands at 1-7. So Malden looks like they're going to have that first game at home in that district tournament with Scott City, and I guess the neighboring bracket there would be Charleston and East Prairie, the 3 and 6 games. So that's the way it's looking right now.
Yeah, I think Malden's going to host the first 2, and then if we make it that far, I suspect we will be going to Crothersville. But Malden had a pretty easy time over at Scott City earlier. It was 42-7, but it's a different season. You can throw it out. Everybody don't want to quit. Scott City's going to bring a load, and they don't want to put their uniforms away. They're going to want to win.
Yep, and we got this different playoff format with the tournaments. And what's your take on it, Tommy? You like the new format, the tournament format in high school football?
I like part of it, and part of it I don't. I have a hard time, with how they calculate. Like, let's just use for an example, East Prairie and people like that. Scott City had beaten them head to head, but then they go to strength of schedule, and then they go to. There's a lot of things that figure into that thing that is over my head. Of course, a lot of things are. but as I say, part of it I like, part of it I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think they'll make some adjustments to it, but they basically tried to mimic the other sports, say basketball, where you go into a format to where everyone's got a chance to advance, which I like that part of it. And the point system I thought they wouldn't do, just for the fact that the other sports, when it comes to district tournaments, they get together and they seed them themselves. I thought they would go to that, but there is, like you said, the point system. Basically, it's who you play, who you beat. And if it's a bigger school, smaller school, that kind of thing, you get more points, not as many points. But then I learned that there's actually an appeal process after the point system shakes out that you can appeal some of those games, you might have teams right there neck and neck, and one's over the other, but one team beat the other with the same record. So I have learned that I think there is an appeal process that the coaches can get together and try to iron it out. So I guess there is that kind of backup buffer there to kind of sort those things out. So I think eventually they might just go to the seedings themselves. The coaches will come together and seed themselves. I thought that's what they would do from the beginning, but maybe they're just trying this to start with it at first, see how it works out, and they'll probably make some adjustments. But I think all in all, it's probably the downside of the tournament is you only get 9 regular season games, and of course that means you get 1 year, 5 home games, 4 road games, and the next year you only get 4 home games and 5 road games. That's probably the downside of it for some schools that are going to be ranked 5th through 8th and wouldn't get that first round home game. So that's probably the downside of it. Every other year, if you're having kind of a down couple years, you're going to have 4 home games, and when before you would have 5 road, 5 home. So that's probably the one downside I see of it for schools.
Yeah, we'll just have to tee it up next Thursday night and see how we do. I know, as I say, Scott City's going to want to try to get their second win. The Greenway's going to try to want to advance also. So it's like in Class 1. What sits on the horizon in Class 1 is Valley Catholic. And, Chaffee having a wonderful year, even though they got knocked off last night. They still got down the road, but anything can happen in any given game. We know that.
Yep. Chaffee looking really good, as you said. Valley Catholic, it's kind of like Crowsville in Class 2. You have the benefit of being shooting for second. And Portageville, Tommy. Portageville come up with a nice victory last night against New Madrid.
Yes, they did. I tell you, I got a text early that New Madrid was on them, and I just didn't pay much attention. But boy, that Portageville team came back. Yeah,
Portageville looked like they had to go on the road to play New Madrid. New Madrid's played fairly decent here of late, got some wins, and impressive victory for Portageville. They've had a few kids down with injuries this year, kind of been in and out, and considering coming off of that victory or that loss last year, 40-0 to New Madrid, they answered quite well, especially on the road there in New Madrid.
Yeah, that's right. They really owed New Madrid one for that one. I understand New Madrid's lost a couple of players. I don't know if there's too much about that. Some of their speed players, but anyway, you can't take anything away from Portageville. They went over to their home turf and laid a big L on them.
Yeah, that certainly helps Portageville out in those standings. That's a Class 1 beating a Class 3, so that really helped them out in them standings. I think that's what pretty much made them make that jump up to number 4. So impressive for Portageville last night. Well, Tommy, we appreciate you stopping by to talk with us, and we'll be looking forward to seeing how these tournaments shake out. And of course, Mullen's looking pretty good so far, so we'll be keeping up with them. And it'll be basketball season before you know it. We're only probably over a month away, so it'll be here before you know it.
That's exactly right. They're going to roll that round ball out and see what happens. But it's always a pleasure to visit with you, Tyler, and I thank you guys for all you do. And we'll probably see you down the road somewhere.
Yeah, certainly will. And we forgot to mention you're just a first-time grandfather now, aren't you?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. Yes, that's right. Wednesday, my son and his wife, Tony and Leanne, are the parents of a heavyweight 4.2 pounds baby girl. And how about that? Addison Lee Jacques.
All right, there you go. And this is your first one, right? This is
my first one, but by looking at her, I think she'll be all right.
All right. Yeah.
Maybe she won't have too much of my bad traits. Maybe she'll get a lot of her good traits from her mother.
There you go. Well, congratulations, Tommy. It was good to see you last night, and we'll be seeing you soon down the road.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, I had your ink pen with me last night, but I forgot to give it to you.
Yeah, that ink pen. I tell you, there's a story behind that. And
I didn't want to forget that.
Yeah, I've been working on wanting that for about a year and a half now. So yeah.
Well, I've about got it empty of ink, so you can have it back.
Yeah, once you get it run through, okay, I get you. All right. Well, Tommy, have a good one, and we'll be seeing you soon.
Thank you, Tyler.
All right.
Goodbye.
And don't go anywhere. We got more. We got state rankings for high school football. Woo. Getting out of the car there. We'll be back with some state and local rankings, high school football and volleyball, and more things to come. Don't go away.
It's the small things in life that you tend to appreciate. The quality of care at SEMO Health Network is no different. They focus on the small details with healthcare that make you feel good, so you can get back to enjoying the small things in no time. They have so many ways to take care of you with 8 locations serving rural communities in need of medical care, including dental facilities and an in-house laboratory.
You'll feel good about this. SEMO Health Network. Stay connected to you. I like the way you do what you do. Alright, okay, you're fine.
Call Audubell Hearing Center at 1-800-499-8786 or visit one of our locations in Dexter and Poplar Bluff, Missouri today.
And now we're going to take a look at some local and state rankings for high school football and volleyball. We'll start out with the SEMO Top 15 poll from SEMOSportZone.com. And we got a new poll for this week. Will not reflect last night's games. And not a whole lot of movement in this poll this week. Jackson's still on top at number 1. 2, Park Hill Central. 3, Cape Central. 4, Sykeston. 5, Valley Catholic. 6, Crothersville. 7, St. Genevieve. 8, Poplar Bluff. 9, Chaffee. 10, Malden. 11, Farmington. 12, Fredericktown, moving up after beating New Madrid last week. Moves up to 12. 13, New Madrid County Central. 14, Dexter. And 15, Kennett. So that's your SEMO 15 poll from SEMOSportZone.com for this week. And take a look at the state rankings for high school football in Class 1. Valley Catholic at number 1, still 8-0. 2, Westron. 3, Cass Midway. 4, Milan. 5, Hamilton. 6, Salisbury. 7, East Buchanan. 8, Chaffee. 9, Osceola. And 10, Jasper. And in Class 2, number 1, Mountain View Liberty, still an undefeated 8-0. Number 2, Lamar, the defending Class 2 state champion. 3, Stratford. 4, Mountain Grove. 5, Crothersville. I think they move up from 6 from last week. 6, South Callaway. 7, Lafayette County. 8, Blair Oaks. 9, Palmyra. And 10, Ash Grove. In Class 3, Maryville at number 1. 2, John Burroughs. 3, O'Fallon Christian. 4, Reed Spring. 5, Oak Grove. A two-way tie for 5th, Oak Grove in California. 7, Duchenne. 8, Hogan Prep. 9, Park Hill Central, which I think they were pretty much at the same spot last week, and 10, Centralia. Actually, I think Park Hills went up from number 10 to number 9 from last week. Now in Class 4, Webb City is still on top at number 1, 2, Bolivar, 3, Jeff City Helias, 4, Moberly, 5, Carl Junction, 6, Westminster Academy, 7, Harrisonville, 8, Pleasant Hill, 9, Hillcrest, and 10, Festus. And in Class 5, Lee Summit West at number 1, 2, Fort Osage, 3, Webster Groves, 4, Parkway Central, 5, Kickapoo, 6, Kirkwood, 7, Nixa, 8, Kearney, 9, Camden, and 10, Fort Zumwalt East. And those are your high school football rankings for this week, and pretty much the same mainstay of teams here from Southeast Missouri in that poll. Crothersville in Class 2, Chaffee working its way up in Class 1, and Park Hill Central They're in Class 3. And taking a look at volleyball state rankings, which will be the same as last week. They do these polls every other week. And Wynonna, they're at number 1, 2, Osceola, 3, Sacred Heart, 4, Kansas City Lutheran, 5, Stover, 6, Midway, 7, Pierce City, 8, Bismarck, 9, Mound City, and 10, Bernie. Bernie into that top 10 poll for this week. And in Class 2, Fatima, they're at number 1, 2, St. Pius, 3, El Dorado Springs, 4, Fair Grove, 5, Mountain Grove, 6, Mountain View Liberty, 7, Jefferson, 8, Herman, 9, Bishop LeBlond, and 10, Southwest. In Class 3, Borgia at number 1, St. Francis Borgia, 2, Villa Duchesne, 3, Visitation Academy, 4, St. Dominic, 5, Perryville, 6, Logan Rogersville, 7, Pleasant Hill, 8, O'Hara, 9, Lutheran South, and 10, St. Genevieve. In Class 4, Lafayette at number 1, 2, St. Joseph's Academy, 3, Liberty, 4, Ozark, 5, Park Hill South, 6, Parkway West, 7, Rockbridge, 8, Jefferson City, 9, Lee Summit West, and 10, Jeff City Helias. And those are your volleyball state rankings for this week, and that'll probably be the final poll as we enter district play this next week here in the state of Missouri. And we'll take a look at those volleyball brackets now. And in Class 1, District 1 at Holcomb this week, South Pemiscot with the first round bye, and they'll take on the winner of Cooter and North Pemiscot. Also, there's Gideon versus Southland, and Holcomb versus Delta C7. And in Class 1, District 2 at Bernie with the number 1 seed, and Bell City, they'll take on the winner of Bell City and Clarkton. Also, Bloomfield versus Richland, Campbell versus Risco. And Class 2, District 1 at Portageville, Malden with the first round bye at number 1 seed. They'll take on the winner of Zenith Hornersville and Twin Rivers. And Portageville, the second seed, with another first round bye. They'll take on the winner of Hayti and Crothersville. And in Class 3, District 1 at Notre Dame, Perryville with the number 1 seed. They'll take on the winner of Kennett and New Madrid County Central. Get a little flub here. Portageville's not in this one. Notre Dame versus Fredericktown the first round, and Dexter versus Donovan. And in Class 4, District 1 at Jackson, Farmington with the first seed, first round bye. They'll take on the winner of Hillsborough and Cape Central. And Poplar Bluff, the second seed, takes on the winner of Jackson and Sykeston. So those are your volleyball tournaments set to go this coming week in high school volleyball. And what's neat about high school volleyball, the state championships are just up the road in Cape Girardeau at the Show Me Center. They've got a deal for the next few years at least. It's been that way for the past couple of years, and we'll be there for the next few years as well. And makes it quite beneficial to run up there just to Cape, see the high school volleyball state championships. And we'll be keeping an eye on all those sports, especially volleyball and football going forward. We're coming down to the end of the season here, so be sure to stay tuned here on YHC TV as well as SEMOSportZone.com. Keep you updated with all the action in high school athletics. And we're going to take a quick break and be back with the college football and pro football matchups, as well as the World Series update and between the Cardinals and the Red Sox. We'll be back with that coming up.
Okay, you're hooked up and ready to go.
New Wave knows you're excited about sports, so now's a great time to get connected with the Triple Play package. Crystal clear TV, high-speed internet, and telephone for only $99.99 a month for 12 months. With New Wave Communications, you've got game. In addition to unlimited calling, New Wave telephone users have a wide range of great phone features available. And now with the help of New Wave Internet, they're even easier to use thanks to our convenient online phone manager. Just log on to your MyWave portal. Now phone features like call forwarding can be set up instantly from any computer. Reliably activate or deactivate your call forwarding. And even set your home phone to ring once when a call is forwarded. Home telephone service made even better with New Wave Communications. Call today.
And now we'll take a look at some football matchups this weekend in both college and professional football, and take a look at the college football matchups today. We've got 12th ranked UCLA at 3rd ranked Oregon, the big Pac-12 matchup today. Also Vanderbilt at 16th ranked Texas A&M, 10th ranked Texas Tech at 15th ranked Oklahoma, Tennessee at top ranked Alabama in the SEC, 9th ranked Clemson at Maryland in the ACC, 21st ranked South Carolina at 5th ranked Missouri. Yes, you're looking at that right. 5th ranked Missouri. Got some big wins in the past few weeks, especially the last week over Florida. And that's what gained them the 5th rank this week. And impressive performance by freshman quarterback, true freshman quarterback. I think his name's Matty Mock they call him, I believe. And come in for an injured James Franklin, put up a nice performance, beating Florida last week. Got their hands full once again against Jadeveon Clowney and the South Carolina Gamecocks today in Columbia. Also, we've got Penn State at 4th ranked Ohio State. They're in the Big Ten. 6th ranked Stanford at 25th ranked Oregon State in the Pac-12. And our local teams, Arkansas State had a nationally televised game on ESPN2 Tuesday night, and they lost to Louisiana Lafayette 23-7. Tough break for Arkansas State. That was probably going to be their biggest obstacle of winning the Sun Belt Conference once again this year with Lafayette. And also Eastern Kentucky at SEMO today for homecoming for the Southeast Missouri State Redhawks today. And in professional football and NFL football tomorrow, to look forward to, the Cowboys at the Lions, Browns at the undefeated Chiefs. The undefeated Kansas City Chiefs currently stand at 7-0, the only undefeated team left in professional football after the Broncos lost to the Colts last week, and a team that went 2-14 last year and had the first overall pick in the draft. 7 weeks into the new season, they're the only undefeated team. So that just goes to show you how you can really turn around a season in just 1 year in the NFL, and they're certainly doing it this year there in Kansas City. The Dolphins at the Patriots in the AFC East. The Bills at the Saints in New Orleans. The Giants at the Eagles in the NFC East. The 49ers at the winless Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jets at the Bengals. The Redskins at the Broncos in Denver. The Packers at the Vikings in Minnesota there for an NFC North matchup. And that's a Sunday night game there on NBC. And the Monday night game on ESPN is the Seattle Seahawks at the St. Louis Rams. And the Rams made some news this weekend, not for the better. Last week, Sam Bradford suffered a torn ACL in the game, and he's out for the year. And they've been scrambling to find a quarterback. And who do they call? Brett Favre. They called Brett Favre, a 44-year-old Brett Favre that hasn't played, and I think it's, 2 whole seasons, going on 3 seasons, and made the call and it wasn't interested. And for once, the 44-year-old turned it down, and St. Louis is scrambling for the quarterback. They had Kellen Clemens, been a long time backup, but I guess you would say only a backup. He hasn't ever been a starter in the league. Backed up, I think, the New York Jets. Actually, he backed up Brett Favre, I believe, there in New York when he played in New York there. But Clemens been a backup, and that's all he's ever been. And I think they signed Brady Quinn to their roster, and I think he's got like a 4-12 record as a starter. Just not the answer they're looking for, but they're just looking for some depth to fill up their quarterback position. And it's going to be a tough go for the Rams if Kellen Clemens is your guy. And with a struggling team already, it's going to be a tough go, and that's why they're looking for someone to come in and be able to throw the ball around that's done it before. And why not take the chance on a 44-year-old Hall of Famer, albeit Brett Favre, to come back from Hattiesburg off the high school football field. He's actually helping coach, I think it's Hattiesburg, if I'm not mistaken, high school football down there. And he's having some fun, but says those days are over, and I guess we finally can say Brett Favre's retired. I guess he's not fully retired unless he's offered another job to come back, and then he turns it down. I guess he's officially retired now, so I guess we can put that in the books. He's done, and he'll be going to Canton in the Hall of Fame in just a few years. So I guess that puts that to rest. But the Rams, that's certainly a tough break, and a lot of injuries last week in NFL football. Sam Bradford, Reggie Wayne, a receiver for the Colts, went down with a torn ACL. I think another really good defensive back, if I'm not mistaken, for the Bengals. Either receiver or defensive back, can't exactly remember. But a lot of big-name guys went down last week. And, Jermichael Finley, tight end for the Packers, had a spinal injury. Kind of a freak play. It didn't look all that bad once you saw the tackle, but he suffered a spinal injury. He's going to be fine. His return to the Packers is not determined at this point, but had quite a few injuries last week, and kind of a black week, you call it, for the NFL with their injuries last week. But we'll see how everything goes forward for those teams recovering. It's certainly going to be tough to replace those players in their lineups. And let's take quickly a look at the World Series update, and the Cardinals are tied 1 game apiece. They dropped the first game and won the second game there in Boston, and they'll be back with Game 3 tonight, 7 o'clock on Fox, and it'll be in St. Louis. So hopefully they can pull that win out. They've got 3 straight games in St. Louis to get ahead of those Boston Red Sox and win this year's World Series. It's going to come down to the end. Both of these teams very good, and you got to take a look at the first 2 games, and it was really defense that's really made the difference in this series so far. Boston took advantage of some early errors and miscues by the Cardinals in Game 1. They won big. I think it was 8-1, but if it weren't for the miscues early on, they wouldn't have been able to rack up those runs. And then in Game 2, the Cardinals won 4-2 and took advantage of some miscues and errors by the Red Sox themselves. So really it's been defense. It's really been the difference in the series so far. But with these teams, it probably will. You won't just see some big run games. Both teams got some excellent rotations and bullpens. So that's probably what the series is going to come down to, executing on defense, making plays behind the pitching. And that's probably going to be the turning point of the series, whoever executes playing defense behind their fine pitching staffs in this series. So we'll see how it all plays out going forward. And that's all we've got for you today, and we appreciate you for tuning in. As always, we look forward to having you back next time, and we appreciate Tommy Jacques calling in as well. And we'll be carrying more high school athletics going forward, so look forward to all that, and we'll see you next time. Take care.